I'm Tanya Spencer, and today we're going to talk about how to use mindfulness to reduce stress. So we feel stress because our bodies are equipped with a stress response to deal with life-threatening situations. So the stress response isn't bad. In fact, it can save our lives. A quick reaction on the road to avoid an accident or being able to run away from a wild animal. But then we're supposed to return to a calm state. But these days we're not taught how to come back to a calm state. And many of us may not even know what that feels like. I didn't used to know what it felt like. But the animals know how to do this. For instance, imagine watching a deer in the forest munching on the grass, and then her ears perk up and she bounds away right before a cougar grabs her. Now, when she reaches safety, she doesn't peer about, wondering where the cougar is, gnawing on her hooves. No, she simply shakes it off, returns to a calm state, and begins munching on the grass again. But these days, in our constant state of anxiety, the things that we worry about, most of them aren't even life-threatening. But the body doesn't know the difference. And when we're in a state of anxiety, body systems that support our long-term survival, such as digestion, reproductive cycles, heart, bone, and muscle healing mechanisms, are all put on hold so that we can continue to survive for the moment. Because we won't need any of those systems if we don't survive the next few moments, right? But long-term shutting down of these systems causes the body to have sickness and injuries and disease because the body is not working the way that it's meant to. So we're going to get a bit sciencey for a moment, because when we understand what's actually happening in our bodies, we can better understand how to help ourselves. So when we experience a real or perceived threat, the HPA axis is activated. And HPA stands for hypothalamus pituitary adrenal. And this is how it works. So the hypothalamus, a region of the brain that's considered the master regulator of the brain and body, and it's basically the center for all the body's automatic responses. So like breathing, blinking, heartbeat. And so it's located in the center of the brain, and when it is activated by a real or perceived threat, it releases corticotropin releasing factor. And that activates the pituitary gland. Now, the pituitary gland is referred to as the master gland, and it's a pea-sized part of the brain that controls all of the hormones in the body. So when this is activated by the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland releases adrenocorticotropin releasing factor, and that activates the adrenal glands. Now, the adrenal glands sit on top of the kidneys like little blobby hats, and the kidneys are located in the center of the body, making it an ideal location for hormones that need to affect the entire body because all the blood passes through the kidneys. Now, the adrenal glands release several hormones, including cortisol, aldosterone, and adrenaline. So then these hormones flow throughout the entire body, causing a global effect, adjusting heart rate, blood pressure, breathing rate. And when adrenaline courses through the body, it diverts blood that would go to the brain and help us think, and diverts it to our muscles so that we can fight for our lives. Now, it can take hours for these hormones to dissipate from the body. And when we get perpetually stuck in that HPA cycle for long periods of time, weeks, years, all of those body systems are compromised for all that time. And the amount of cortisol dumping from the adrenal glands tells the hypothalamus over and over that you're still not safe. And so the cycle continues with the stress hormones flowing through the body. So if you've ever heard of adrenal fatigue or adrenal failure, this has been going on too long. So what can we do about this? Well, mindfulness helps us to change our brains to work for us instead of against us. The more we practice relaxation, peace, and ease, the more our brain is going to give us relaxation, peace, and ease. This is called neuroplasticity. It's how we change our brains. And I'll be having an entire video just on neuroplasticity. It's very exciting. Because when we are relaxed and breathing deeply, all of those body systems come back online and the body is operating the way that it's meant to. And then healing happens in the body. So we shift from the stress response with the breath. When the breath is deepened, the heart rate eases and the body shifts from the stress response to the relaxation response. They basically cannot operate at the same time. So you're either in one or the other, which is nice. You can't kind of be in one and kind of be in another. It's either one or the other. So basically the breath gets deepened, the body relaxes, oxygen flows up to the brain, the hypothalamus is soothed, and it stops dumping the stress hormones, and that stops the HPA cycle. So with practice, what happens is when a stressful situation comes up, the response becomes checking in with the breath before habitually reacting. And this gives us a little bit of space between something that's happening and then how we respond to it. And that little bit of space is life-changing. For example, just a little example, early on in my study of mindfulness, watching the news, my husband got very upset about something on the news, and I would have usually gotten very upset too. But my reaction I didn't even have to think about it. I just started breathing in for 4 and out for 4, and just taking a little moment to decide how I wanted to feel about it. And it was such a shift that my husband looked at me and he said, "I'm just wondering why you're not upset." And I just told him that I decided not to be, that I couldn't do anything about the situation. It wasn't going to alter my life, and so I wasn't going to get upset about it. And that whole process took mere seconds. And so that's just that much less stress that was going through my body with just that one instance. And it's something that we can do with everything that comes up in life. So using the breath is the key to reducing or eliminating that stress cycle in your life. And along with slowing the breath and using the deep belly breaths, you could also try slowing everything else down too, like your movements. Because when we start to get stressed, sometimes we start to move really quickly. So possibly just try slowing down and become very aware of what you're doing. And you could even silently narrate to yourself what you're doing. Such as right now, I'm simply taking a sip of this warm, delicious cup of coffee, or I'm simply driving down the road, just kind of talking yourself through it and just remembering that that's all that's happening right now. It's very simple, but very powerful, a very powerful way to shift into the relaxation response. So the more consistently you meditate and practice breathing and practice relaxing, even for just a few minutes a day, the better your brain is going to get at relaxing the body and relaxing the breath. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you for listening, and please feel free to leave questions or comments below, and we'll see you again soon.